Hey guys, today I'm sharing with you a super simple side dish. This is my yellow rice that is packed with flavor, and it is a much healthier way to make rice than adding a bunch of seasonings from the store that have a ton of preservatives and additives. So what I've done was I've gone ahead and finally diced up some carrots, as well as a half or so of a smallish tomato. You don't want too much. And I have a sprig of rosemary here, as well as some thyme. Now this is French thyme. If you go ahead and use the regular plain English thyme that you would get in the supermarket, I have this growing in my garden, so that's why I'm using it. So you want about 3 sprigs of thyme or so, 2 to 3 sprigs of thyme, and a nice sprig of rosemary, as well as a nice handful of cilantro. Just about a 1/4 cup of cilantro or so. You don't want too much, but a nice small handful. Make sure all of that is really well washed and cleaned. And I'm just going to add this to my small blender cup. I have removed the leaves from my rosemary and just left the sprig behind just to blend up the leaves. I'm going to go ahead and add in 4 cloves of garlic, as well as about a half of a small onion that I'm just going to roughly dice and place all that into my blender cup. Add in about 2 tablespoons of water and just get this all blended up together. Now I'm using a small little blender here, and I would have to stop it, give everything a nice little shake, and just blend it. Just continue blending to make sure it is nice and smooth and blended. Alright, so in a saucepan here in about medium heat, I have some unsalted butter that I'm just going to go ahead and melt down. Now you want to make sure and add salt at some point, salt and black pepper at some point in your dish. You can add it to your seasoning blend or to your rice before you mix it in. So I'm adding in about half of my green mixture to that butter that's being melted down, especially the top more fibrous part of it. I'm just gonna add in, remember that has garlic and onion in there, and we're gonna kind of saute this down for about 30 seconds or so with that butter. I will have all the amounts listed below in the description box for you. So after about 30 seconds, some of that water that was in that seasoning blend just getting evaporated a little bit. To this, we're going to go ahead and add in our spices. I am adding in some paprika for color. Again, all the amounts would be listed below, but you can definitely change this up and add more things or leave whatever you want out. I'm adding in some ground turmeric, as well as some ground cumin. We're gonna toss these little spices together in our butter and herbs to awaken the flavor of the spices. Now typically I would add things like my all-purpose seasoning and stuff, but they have so much preservatives and additives in those seasonings, so I definitely try to reduce the amount of times that I use those things in my cooking. Another thing that I like to add sometimes to this is my organic poultry seasoning, which has no additives. It's literally just like thyme and rosemary and all that blended up together, dried and blended. So I've added in my carrots. I'm going to just kind of cook this down for about 45 seconds with everything, so it starts to get a little tender. This is obviously going to cook with the rice, so it will be nice and tender when it's finished. Now I am using some basmati rice for this. You want to make sure and prepare your rice however your packaging says. Some says you need to wash it, some says you don't. Mine does not need washing or rinsing, so I'm just going to add in my 1 cup of my basmati rice. Now this is the rice that I love to use in this dish. It is so flavorful. It has the perfect consistency and texture, but of course you can use this with brown rice, you can use this with parboiled rice, any kind of rice that you have. Go ahead and use jasmine rice even though that one's a little bit more on the sticky side, but any rice will do. I'm going to add in my rice, and we're going to toss this all around to coat the rice with all of the herbs and spices, as well as toast that rice for about a minute. You do want to make sure and stir this every 30 seconds or so nothing sticks, but you want to toast your rice for about a minute or so. Now this is optional, but I have some frozen sweet peas here. I'm just going to add in a little handful of that as well as my tomatoes. Now the carrots are optional, the peas are optional. I make this sometimes without that. The tomato, however, does add a lovely burst of flavor, but it is also optional. Now we're going to add in our water. And we're going to stir everything. I'm trying to make sure and get the bottom of the pan, because sometimes when the herbs and the spices are toasting, it leaves like a little remnant of flavor. So I make sure and scrape the bottom, make sure everything's off, add in the remaining bit of our herbs that we blended up. Give everything a mix again to make sure everything's incorporated. Add your salt and pepper before you get this to boil so that everything is nice and mixed in. Now we are going to cover this and put our heat on high and wait for this to come up to a boil. Now unfortunately, this pot that I decided to cook this rice in today to do this recipe to show you does not have a see-through lid. So here I am searching my cupboards to see if I could find a lid that has a glass top that you can see through to show you what you should be looking for. But I don't have one that fits this pot. So, yes. So that is my lid there. I just have a larger lid, but you know what? We're gonna work with what we got. Because if I'm gonna show you how to make the rice, I'm gonna show you how to make the rice, okay? My lid does fit tightly on there. You wanna make sure that this is covered. Once it comes up to a boil, you're gonna turn your heat down to low, all the way down to low, and let this cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. All of the water, it will absorb all of the water. Now the seasonings and all that will kind of stay to the top. After this is finished cooking, you just wanna take a fork and fluff it and mix it all together. As it cools completely, it will be perfectly cooked and there will be no much moisture in there. It's not dry, it's perfectly moist. I know some people don't like that word, but it is delicious. It is packed with flavor, so much goodness. Instead of using water for your rice, you can use chicken stock or vegetable stock, and it's got goodness in there. I know what's going in there. There's no additives, no preservatives. As far as I know, I'm making it, and everyone loves it. It really is so easy to put together. Again, there are times that I make this without carrots and peas. You don't even have to add the tomatoes. You can just add the spices, the turmeric, and all of that. The cilantro and everything just adds good flavor. I hope that you guys give this a try. It is so easy and it is so delicious, and it's just good. It's good stuff. Homemade is always best. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.